Welcome to episode 251 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent and Jason here, and this week we've got another good one because we've got Tommy Erickson of Slumlord Radio joining us. I think this one has been a long time coming.
Oh yeah, definitely. We played these guys, long ago, and they've always supported us, liked our shit.
Yeah, we've been talking about this amongst ourselves for ever since we played them because we love their music.
Yeah.
And probably 3 years ago now, finally made it happen. Slumlord Radio's out of Michigan. We're going to get into all that here in just a bit. Before we do, as always, we are sponsored by MedFarm and DEB Concerts. MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma at 24683 East Highway 51. If you get in there and tell them that we sent you, or you mention our name, they'll give you 10% off your order, which is very cool. They're always running other specials as well. So if you follow them on Facebook at MedFarm, that's PHARM, you won't miss any of the specials. You can also follow them on Instagram at MedFarmOK. Their website is medfarmok.com. You can also see all their products at leafly.com as well. They've got a doctor on site every Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. if you need to get a medical card. And their slogan is Cannabis with a Cause because 30% of their profits are going to build no-kill animal shelters. And they've already got a site and a building, and they're working on getting that set up. So that is very cool to be able to have another one of those here in this area of Oklahoma because it's greatly needed. As we've talked about in the past, it's like, why would you support any other dispensary whenever all these other dispensaries don't give a shit about animals?
Right?
And MedFarm obviously does.
That's right.
30% of the profits, man.
I love it.
Locally owned, Oklahoma owned, family owned. So get in there, MedFarm, tell them we sent you. DB Concerts is an area promoter right here in Tulsa that keeps bringing in some great acts to downtown, like Saxon, Warrant. What am I drawing a blank? I usually rattle these off.
Winger, Firehouse, Tom Kiefer, Sebastian Bach. No, I'm drawing a blank. It's contagious, you bastard.
Yeah, Kicks, Junkyard, LA Guns, Dockin.
There you go.
Striper.
And they got Buck Cherry coming up.
That's right, February 22nd at the Ideal Ballroom. Buck Cherry will come into town, and Fist of Rage and Grind will open that show, which is very cool. Both of those bands are excellent. They've both been on this podcast several times.
That's right.
If you hit one of those two bands up to buy your tickets, you'll save a little bit of money. You'll help them out as well. So do that. So you can head out there February 22nd. Eddie Trunk will be at the show as well, hosting it as he does all the Ideal Ballroom shows. DB Concerts also booked the Roadhouse stage at Rocklahoma for the second year in a row. And this year is going to be great because they've got Warrant and Bullet Boys and Hurricane Alice on the pre-party night. Then they've also got Liliac, Lynch Mob, and John 5 and the Creatures headlining the other 3 nights. You can find the full schedule, or you don't see the schedule, but you can see the full lineup of bands at rocklahoma.com. Also get on debconcerts.com, bookmark that so you don't miss anything. Follow them on Facebook and Twitter as well. And tell them that we sent you.
Definitely.
Before we get into some other stuff, I'm going to talk about something that I've been putting off for like several episodes.
Yeah.
And it's been a while now. We're here in the beginning of February. And I think it was like January 10th or 11th, I went to Dallas for the Evil Beat Volume 2.
Yeah.
Which was the Power Trips Festival, or their second annual. I mean, it's a festival, but it's an indoor thing. Obviously, it's January in Dallas.
Yeah, come on.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Last year they did it, and it was, I think it was late 2018 they did it. And it was mainly, I think, all local and area bands, with them headlining one of the nights on their 10th anniversary. And then this year, they kind of upped it, and it was at the Southside Ballroom. They had 2 of the rooms, 2 stages going, and they had a packed fucking house at the Southside Ballroom.
Yeah.
I'd never been there before. We've been to Deep Ellum countless times in our life.
Yeah.
But this is my first time there, and it was really cool the way it was set up. It's got several different rooms. You obviously could have a few different events going on at the same time, but so it's a great place for something like this, where you can have 2 stages running. And Power Trip did a great job of bringing in. You could tell they kind of booked some bands that I think influenced them because they had Carcass.
Oh, yeah.
And they had Violence.
That's rad.
Violence has, reformed here this past year after Phil Dimmel left Machine Head.
Yeah.
They kind of reformed, and they've only done sporadic shows since then. I think they did the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise as well. And then they did this show. So they haven't really done that many. And then they had Razor, which is a thrash band from the 80s out of Canada. And, all those bands were fucking, like Razor, I think was the highlight for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'd seen that name a long time ago, but I wasn't really ever familiar with them. So I listened to a lot of them leading up to going to the show. And they were just fucking excellent. Just old school thrash at its finest. And then Violence was another band that, I looked into them a long time ago, but, once I became a big Machine Head fan, since both Rob Flynn and Phil Dimmel had, came from there.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I kind of listened to them more leading up to it, and they were, to be able to see Phil Dimmel right up front wailing on guitar again, it was very cool.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then, there was some other great bands, like a band called Red Death, which I feel like I've seen that name, but...
I've seen that name before, too, yeah.
And they were the same way, just a fucking wall of, thrash metal intensity.
And Death Heaven was there, right?
Yeah, but I miss them.
Well, that's...
And I'm not going to, say anything. My experience with Death Heaven, listening to them on Sirius and places like that, didn't make me want to go see them.
Yeah, I mentioned it because, a lot of people like them.
Yeah.
And they're
a critical darling.
Yes, I get that. The Critic, yeah. But I will tell you, that's one of the coolest fucking names.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
I remember I listened to them the first time I saw that just because I thought the name was cool.
And that could be, you could plug in, that could be a punk band, a thrash band, just a rock and roll band. I mean, that's just a great name.
Yeah. Well, Torch was also there, and they were fantastic. They're the first band I actually saw once we got there, and I'd seen them before opening for Clutch, but they're just, they're so good live, and they're kind of, their live show and their stage thing, it was almost kind of like a borderline psychedelic thing, kind of like you get from Mastodon.
Nice.
But they've got that, they're more rooted in that hard rock, stonery kind of groovy sound. And so, they're another great band if you've never seen them. And then Carcass, just to be able to see a band like that, has been around forever. And influenced so many other metal bands. It was crazy to go to the show and I don't think I'd seen any of these bands live except for Torch and Power Trip. And with that many bands, that's kind of unusual these days for us since we've seen so many shows.
Yeah. Well, we're old hands at this.
Right. And Power Trip, of course, I talked about when I finally got to see him at Exo 111.
I still got to see him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen this year. I got a good feeling.
Yeah, it's got to happen. These guys are on the way. they've been around for, 11 years now, but they're on their way up. They're still on this trajectory of...
Yeah.
They're, I'll say it, I love Havoc. I love Toxic Holocaust. I'm sure who else am I forgetting? There's kind of like this new wave of thrash bands.
Yeah.
Battlecross and Power Trip are the two bands that, to me, are kind of like defining that small movement, as genre, even though neither one of those are even as big, I think, as Toxic Holocaust or Havoc, at least name-wise.
Definitely.
So, yeah, you've got to see Power Trip live if you haven't. They're just unbelievable. Yeah, so just wanted to throw all that in there because it was a cool thing.
Definitely. I want to talk about something real quick.
Can I guess?
Before we get into it, sure.
Is it Kirk Winstein's album?
No.
Okay.
God, we need to.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard, though. We'll get into that, though.
Okay.
But no, February 8th, this coming weekend, The Shame, Penny Mob, and Sloth Fist from Dallas are going to be at the Mercury Lounge. And that would be a great punk show to go to. So I'm going to try and make it. If that's your thing, get out there. Even if it's not, get out there anyways. You're going to love The Shame.
Yeah, it's like, it's fun.
And Penny Mob, I've heard them. I just haven't seen them yet, and that's my own fault. Anyhow, I'm really going to try to make it out there this weekend. I want to see this show.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The Shame is just just a great time.
Oh, I mean, they're one of the best live bands around here. I mean, I only one day hope that I grow up to be anywhere near as cool as The Shame.
That's right.
Seriously, and that's no joke. I mean, I love this band, and I got their album Friendly on vinyl. It's just a great time.
I did not know that you had that on vinyl.
Yes, it's red vinyl. It's fucking rad. And I mean, it's just tight and anthemic punk rock.
Right.
So I will see you at the Mercury Lounge this weekend.
And 2 of their members have been on this podcast.
Yes.
Chad Malone has been on this podcast a couple times. And then Terry Waska has been on this podcast talking about the old Capitol Underground documentary that's about the Tulsa punk scene and metal scene, from the late 70s into the early 90s. So check that out as well. It's on Amazon Prime. It's fucking fantastic.
Yes, definitely.
It's one of those things, even if you're not from the Tulsa area, you freaking love this thing because it's just a great documentary about punk and rock.
Exactly.
So do we want to talk about Kirk Windstein, or do we need to wait?
We need to wait. I want to listen to that more.
Again? Okay.
Yeah. But the Kirk Windstein album is great.
Yes.
My first impression of it is it's him, it's under his umbrella, but it's not crowbarish all the way. I think he takes his voice in some different places.
Right.
But I'm going to stop right there because I need to listen to it a couple more times so I can really, really talk about it and describe it.
Gotcha. All right. Is there anything else off the top of your head? What'd you think of the Grammys?
Oh, okay. You know what? I do have something to say.
I didn't watch it, but I know that you always watch that shit.
I don't know what it is.
I know. We've had this
conversation ever since I was a kid. When it comes to award shows and variety shows and shit, it's just a thing in me. I think it's a nostalgic thing more than anything, really.
Right. I loved them when we were young.
Oh, yeah. And there's really nothing on the Grammy. I mean, I'll watch the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards all day because we're both into movies and all that horse
Yeah,
shit,
I watched
whatever.
the Oscars, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, the Grammys, it was just, we knew, Melissa and I knew there's nothing on here that's going to be anything worth anything. Maybe Aerosmith. But we just kind of put it on while we were doing shit around the house that evening. And, hey, when Aerosmith comes on, I'll sit down and watch it or whatever. But what I thought was crazy was, just out of my curiosity, before the telecast, I kept checking the website. I want to see who wins the Rock Awards, who won the Metal Awards. I know it's random and the Grammys don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, but it's the nerd in me. It's the rock fan in me from when I was a kid. I still have to check it, right?
Right.
And then I looked and a bunch of rap and hip hop awards were already announced. And I'm like, that's crazy, because usually that's what they put on the telecast.
Right.
So then we kind of start, paying attention once the proper show starts. And, they have they televise, and this was on Eddie Trunk. I'm not saying anything that's no one doesn't know, but they televise the best comedy album. When the fuck have they ever done that?
Wow.
And then, they don't really have a lot of awards. There's a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of performers, a bunch of people fucking lip syncing, a bunch of fucking dancers. It has nothing to fucking do with real music.
Right.
And just a bunch of horse shit. And then, maybe 4 big awards at the very end of the whole thing. I mean, we used to bitch about, they don't televise rock and metal. Well, they didn't televise a lot. And that's what I thought was really interesting about that. And then, Aerosmith with Run DMC was sloppy as fuck. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's what I saw several people saying. It was
and it was
kind of a shit show.
It was a goddamn train wreck. So, I mean, but it's the Grammys. Well, I don't know. That's 0.5% of the music I care about, so, but just the big observation was, wow, they didn't really televise a lot of awards, period.
Yeah.
And that just kind of shows you, where popular mainstream music's heading, which kind of was what we knew and what we bitch about all the time. Right?
Well, we knew more than likely that Tool was going to win that award.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't see it, but I saw some headline thing that said that during their acceptance speech, they paid tribute to Neil Peart.
Yep.
So I don't know what that was about. If it was like real short or if it was a
Oh,
whole
I don't
speech
know.
or what.
I
But
don't know. And
which is cool.
in their whole in memoriam montage, they had Neil Peart in there, which, I figured they would because Rush is a huge band. But I almost thought, man, what if they might save it till next year because he passed away in 2020.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They did the right thing and put it on there since it was so recent. And, so, but they didn't put Bushwick Bill in there. God damn it.
They didn't?
No.
That's kind of weird.
Isn't it? But anyway, so.
So do you think this is something we haven't talked about, outside of when it first started, but the whole Joey Kramer thing.
Okay, yeah.
We have a friend who is involved with the music business.
Yes,
Tommy.
we do. Yes, we do.
Who just said, "What do you think of this PR stunt by Aerosmith?" Last week's what he texted me. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is real or do you think it's fake?
What do you mean?
That they're just doing all this for
to drum up publicity?
Yeah.
I never even thought about it that way.
Then eventually, he's like, if you watch the TMZ thing where they're there when he's trying to get in the studio and those guys are at,
See,
it's like it just. I haven't watched it, but it's like him and a few other people said this just looks totally fake.
Really,
It just doesn't look realistic.
I hadn't thought
and like,
about
why is
that.
TMZ there anyway? That kind of thing, It's like,
I don't know, man. I guess, because, we look at these celebrities and aging celebrities as vying for attention still, but at the same time, Aerosmith, they don't need to fucking please anybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's, it's shitty to make your drummer for 50 years audition to get back in the band. But then again, if there's some serious medical problems, I don't know, man.
Right.
I don't know what to do. It's a sticky situation.
And she ain't old enough to drink.
God damn
Gene
it,
Simmons.
you
Okay.
motherfucker. Quick. Good one.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I would think if I was down for the count, but then, I don't know, man. I fucking don't know. I mean, he ended up going to these ceremonies.
Right.
He just didn't perform. Fucking
whatever. I read he spoke at their thing.
Yeah,
like him, he was the only person that spoke besides Steve Tyler.
And they didn't even speak at the Grammys from what I heard.
Okay.
So, which doesn't surprise me. So, fuck, man, I don't know.
Well, on a positive note, they announced their 50th anniversary show will be at Fenway Park in Boston.
That's cool. Well, as it should.
With Extreme opening up.
Really? I did not know Extreme was opening. Yeah. That's fucking great.
Which is great because, they could easily just get some random, new band to try to, look cool or have, but Aerosmith doesn't need help selling tickets, especially for that show. Yeah. So it's cool that they got another Boston area band.
Yeah.
That deserves to be playing a fucking filled up baseball stadium,
True. and going back to the Grammys real quick, there was a really cool moment. They did a tribute to some guy. I'm an asshole. I forgot who it was.
Tommy Victor?
No, I'd remember that. It was, I think it was a producer or something. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. It's me. I am wrong. Let's not fuck around. But, it was just this whole revolving door of artists, like in one whole song, in this whole medley of whatever the band was, or whoever it was a tribute to. And there's Gary Clark Jr. and shit like that. But then all of a sudden, the War and Treaty came out, which is a duo that I saw last year on New Year's Eve in Nashville, open for Old Crow Medicine Show.
Right.
They're a husband and wife duo, and they're R&B, but they're really kind of Americana and rootsy too. And they can sing like motherfuckers. It's amazing. So it was really cool to, and they talked about on stage, they had just moved to Nashville and they're just getting their career going. And then to see them, on TV, that was really cool. I thought that was awesome. So yeah, there you go.
Hell yeah. Well, should we get into this?
Yeah, interview? Let's do it.
All right. We've got Tommy Erickson, who is the vocalist and guitarist for Slumlord Radio. And a couple things here. First off, like you mentioned with Deaf Heaven, Slumlord Radio is a fucking great name.
It is. It is.
I've loved it ever since we first seen it, whenever came across them a while, however many years ago that was. They're out of Michigan. They're great. They describe themselves as punk and roll, which I always thought was cool as well.
That is cool.
Because you get that vibe. It's not punk, it's not heavy metal, but it's just somewhere between all that,
Yeah.
And we recently played their new single, Gonna Be a Riot, here 2 or 3 episodes ago, which is great. They also recently released a cover of the Stooges, I Want to Be Your Dog, which is great as well. We'll talk about that here in this interview coming up. So, let's just get into it. Here's Tommy Erickson of Slumlord Radio. Gonna Be a Riot just got released here under a month ago. What's the response been like so far from everybody?
Really good, man. We actually recorded it up at White Elephant Records, and that's where we put the record out. Well, the single. We did a single, that single, and then a cover of the Stooges, I Want to Be Your Dog, but we put it on the record label too. But really good, man. I mean, we've been getting quite a bit of airplay, and everybody seems to be digging it. I mean, it's got a cowbell in it, so you can't go really wrong with that,
Right.
That's part of the formula.
Right. Well, dude, I'm from the Flint area, man. So Grand Funk, dude. So it's got to have a little bit of that cowbell, right? American band. So
there you go.
Speaking of, I Want to Be Your Dog. I mean, that's kind of a perfect song for you guys to cover. But how do you go about approaching such a song that's like considered so classic like that?
Well, absolutely, man. We when I first told Jeremiah, he's the gentleman that runs the label, him and Alicia, but Jeremiah, his band actually opened up for the Stooges over in Italy, his band Dirty Americans, like back in 2003 or something. So when I was like, hey man, I think we're gonna cover I Want to Be Your Dog, he's like, ooh, he's like, I don't know, man. He goes, I'll be honest with you, dude. He goes, that's kind of Michigan holy ground there, man. He goes, all right. He goes, well, let's try for it, man. See what happens. So we did, and it turned out pretty good, man. I think we did a pretty our own take on it, man. It's kind of like the modern Stooges, you know what I mean? But turned out really good, man. So we were pleasantly surprised.
You think we can expect more singles in the coming year?
Well, actually, we were going to start working on an album here. We just had a couple delays. You know how it goes, man. And we had been playing quite a bit and had a couple delays. But we're actually going to start recording that here shortly. So we should have an album out in 2020. So.
Okay, and that's with White Elephant, you said?
Yep, White Elephant Records. Yes, sir.
Okay. So how's that relationship been for you guys?
Great, man. I mean, really good. Both Jeremiah and Alicia, they're really on top of things. Like I said, Jeremiah does the recording. And he's a wizard in the studio, man. He stays honest, man. So and we kind of need that, somebody kind of, so.
I think that you guys' sound is kind of an amalgamation of like the purest parts of a lot of different genres. I don't think there's anything there that shouldn't be there, and I really dig that. Talk about how that comes up and how you guys decided on your sound.
Man, I mean, I think it's just a lot of it's just sort of just a natural part of it, man. I mean, it's just that dirty, raw. It's something we can't kind of escape. You know what I mean? It's I wish we could. Sometimes you're like, man, it'd be nice if we could polish it up a little bit, but it just sort of always comes out that fuzzy and just just gnarly. I don't know. I think it's kind of a Michigan thing, being Detroit, Flint. It's just sort of, MC5, Alice Cooper, Stooges. It's just a natural thing of it, man, kind of hard to escape, just sort of in the water. So
yeah. It's like I can hear it on the radio, but I also can hear it like in an underground kind of sweaty club, and that's a great thing to me in a way.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we certainly played our share of those, man, with some of the chicken wire up front. And
Well, you mentioned, kind of holdups on an album because you're coming up on 5 years since Too Pretty for Tijuana came out. Like, do you guys have a buildup of songs throughout that time, or are you continually writing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Got quite a bit of songs to choose from, just kind of paring it down for the album. So we put out a single here a year or two ago, Holy Smokes, and we had like the video with the gang of gals robbing stores in Saginaw and stuff like that, and I had a shootout and all that, and then it just sort of like one of those things we just kind of kept hitting delays, but yeah, now we're kind of really focused on getting it done. So yeah, we got quite a few to choose from. It's just kind of a matter of kind of paring everything down. So
how do you go about doing that when you've got a lot of material and try and just knowing when to stop or knowing when to keep going with the song?
Well, like I said, it's kind of it's like it's when we practice what we're kind of digging, and then now that going into the studio, especially working with like White Elephant and stuff like that, it's different working with somebody who's really like a producer. You know what I mean? That's somebody that's like that'll call you out on. I guess call it like be like, hey, dudes, that kind of sucks, man. Which is kind of cool to have somebody like that. You know what I mean? To have somebody like, guys, that's really good. Or, no, man, I don't think that's gonna fly. So, you know what I mean? But also, it's just kind of one of those things like, if we find ourselves coming back to certain things, we're kind of like, yeah, that's pretty good. We dig it, and then certain things just sort of over time just sort of get left behind, and like, yeah, it didn't quite work out.
Was that something you guys didn't have early on? Did you, like, on the early stuff, self-produce everything?
Yeah, we did. One of the guys, Dave Flynn, in the band, was in the band, so we just kind of, we're thankful we had him in it because then we could just pump out stuff pretty quick, you know what I mean? Because he had his own studio. But back in them, though, they were a little bit more rowdy days too. So it was kind of more just like, yeah, that'll work, man. Let's. Hey, man, what time's the bar close? Or actually, we'd recorded a lot of stuff, dude. Like coming home from the bar, so it'd be like 4 or 5 in the morning. Be like, all right, dudes, let's see what we put down on tape.
Your guys' writing style. Do the three of you like write together, or do you kind of handle that as the front man, or?
Usually we'll start off. Usually, I'll be working, come up with some riffs or lyrics, things of that nature, and then take it into practice, and then kind of just we'll hammer them out. Kind of hammer them into form a little bit, and see what everybody digs. See what everybody's like. Yeah, man, I like that. Or ooh, I don't know about that. So that's kind of it starts. Like just usually coming up with the riffs and lyrics, and if they work with everybody, we kind of take it from there. So kind of super glue it all together.
So this year marks 10 years as a band. What has changed or progressed over that time, you think?
Oh, man. I know that's a trip, man. A lot of stuff, you know what I mean? It's, I think it's just sort of been a progression with our, I think personal lives too, man. 10 years, people having kids, things like that. So it's, I think the progression, it's just sort of like we've just sort of naturally progressed, and we played a lot of shows, man. And when you play a lot of shows, you sort of get to know, what everybody's going to play now. You know what I mean? Playing together so long that's what's kind of cool, man. Now you're kind of like, what everybody's vibe is. So that's kind of the natural progression of it. Just playing together with the same lineup for so long. It's just kind of really neat now that you're like, oh man, you can kind of tell what everybody else is going to think. It's almost like you start develop a little bit of that telepathy or something,
Yeah, maybe you don't have to practice as much. That might be cool. I don't know.
Well, we still do. I mean, it's usually getting together and be like, hey, dude, can you swing by the party store, man, on the way? Like, grab some beers, we still practice, but
oh yeah, you got to. Oh yeah.
Dude, you gotta have a good time, though,
Did you grow up in Michigan?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned
Michigan there.
Some of the big rock guys like Alice Cooper and MC5 and the Stooges. Like, what else influenced you early on? Were you ever influenced by like the Motown sound or Nugent or anything else from that area?
Oh, dude, absolutely all of it, man. I mean, Nugent, MC5, Motown. I mean, we're really lucky here. I mean, they've got a lot of really good musical heritage here in Michigan. But, everywhere, too, man. I mean, I grew up in Metallica, Megadeth. That's how you guys had Dave Ellefson on, man. That's very cool. It was huge into them. Black Flag, a lot of the punk stuff, too. I think that comes out in the music as well. Queens of the Stone Age, kind of more of the stoner rock type stuff. So it's kind of, that's one of the cool things, too. I mean, we all kind of dig a lot of stuff. So it all kind of, like Matt's a big Circus Survive guy. I mean, it's all just sort of, we all dig a lot of stuff, so that's kind of neat. But then again, like I said, it just sort of gets in that blender, and then again, it just sort of gets that dirty fuzz on top of it, man. So we just can't shake that.
Do you remember what it was, like who it was for you that started, like, making you love music or made you want to play an instrument?
Oh, absolutely, man. We went and my folks actually took me to Pine Knob, which is like DTE now, which is like an outdoor amphitheater. And we saw Van Halen, man, when I was a kid. And it was right, I remember it was the same day we put our dog to sleep, Jesse, the black lab I had as a kid. So it was the same day, that morning we put him to sleep, and then we went to see Van Halen that day at DTE, dude. And I remember just it was just wild, man, because it's a big amphitheater, and after that I was just like, man, that really turned me on to music. And, my dad was always listening to the rock stations in Flint and stuff like that. So kind of a combination of all those, but seeing that show, definitely, I was like, wow, just blown away. So
what tour was that?
That would have been Balance tour.
Okay.
That was a good tour.
Yeah, man. It was wild up on that hill, man, because they got a big grass hill there. And Our Lady Peace opened, and it rained the whole time, and downpouring. And then right when Van Halen came on, it cleared up, dude. But people are rolling down the hill, dude. People are pulling their pants down, lighting stuff on fire. I mean, it was just wild, man, for a young man, So
we saw that tour. Skid Row opened in Oklahoma City, and that was the night that, after the show was over and everybody was leaving, some drunk guy climbed up to the rafters of the arena and fell off and killed himself.
Oh, really?
That's my Van Halen story.
Man, I don't know, man. That's definitely wilder. And I saw some wild stuff that day, man. For a young man, what I mean? It's quite an eye opener, man. But
But hey,
that outwilds it.
To have to put your dog down. The Van Halen show was probably a real boost up.
It was, man.
Yeah.
'Cause I just started playing guitar too, so my old man was a big Van Halen guy, so decided to take the kids, man.
Why not?
Was that
crazy 90s, man?
Was that your first show?
It was, man.
Okay.
It was like that, yeah, absolutely. So
very cool. Looking into the rest of this year, you've mentioned hopefully having an album out this year. What else can we expect from Slumlord Radio in 2020?
Like I said, we'll probably do some music videos. We've been talking to a couple of music video guys. Got a couple really good shows to kick off the year. We got a show at 20 Monroe, which is a big venue here in Grand Rapids on the 31st of January. Like I said, we got some really, really cool shows. We're playing Nights of the Road, big motorcycle party down in Detroit there. And so we got a lot of really cool shows coming up here in Michigan. And then, like I said, probably I'm really excited to get that album out, probably kick out a few videos, and who knows, man, a couple other surprises. You never know, man. So maybe we'll head down to Oklahoma there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah,
yeah, like I said, man, we're good guys, man. We'll stay on the couch, cook you pizza rolls and all sorts of stuff, man.
Hell yeah. Well, final question for you. A lot of your artwork is really cool. Do one of you guys handle that, or do you have someone do it for you?
Oh man, the very first one, the cat's pajamas one, I drew myself. The cat with the mini bike jumping over a flaming mattress.
Right.
And that, again, like I said, man, that had to go back to a lot of times after recording, man. I think I was sketching that after we came back to the show, and yeah, them was rowdy times. But after that, man, yeah, we've had Jennifer Fury did the Too Pretty for Tijuana one, and then the single we just did, the gentleman Steven Yoda from Indonesia did it, man. It was really neat, man. He's doing some really neat stuff. You can check out on Instagram. Same with Jennifer Fury, but they're both on Instagram, and they both do really cool, neat art. So way out of my drawing. You can see the progression of art, man. Like I did the first one, and everyone's got a little bit better. So
cool, man. Well, thank you for taking the time out to do this with us.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Like I said, man, we'll get on that Oklahoma trip here, man.
Yeah, definitely.
People are free to leave the state.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, or if you get anywhere close, we'll make the drive to Kansas or Texas or whatever,
Definitely.
All right, sounds like a plan, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys having me on, so looking forward to see what else you guys have coming up, man. Like I said, I dig all the stuff you guys have, so been a long-time follower, so.
Cool, we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
There you go, Tommy Erickson, singer and guitarist of Slumlord Radio, three-piece based out of Michigan, who frankly kick ass.
Oh, they kick all kinds of ass, and it was great to finally have him on here.
Yes, long overdue, like we've said, so if this is your first exposure to Slumlord Radio, get on Facebook and follow them, follow their Twitter, check them out, they're on Spotify, all the places you can find music. They've got some great stuff out, they've got a couple albums. They've got 2 new songs out, like we mentioned before the interview, as well as, like he mentioned in the episode, hopefully new stuff coming this year as well. So we'll be looking forward to that. If this is your first time listening, we appreciate it. You can dig back through our previous episodes. Just last week, we had on James Lomenzo, who is the bass player for John Fogerty. He was also an original member of White Lion, Pride and Glory. Played on Zakk Wylde's Book of Shadows. He was in Megadeth for a while. David Lee Roth's band, Black Love Society. So check that out. It's a great episode. We also recently had Doug Burgess from our sponsor DB Concerts talking about all the bands he booked for the Roadhouse stage at Rocklahoma 2020. We've had on guys from Prong, Crowbar, Sons of Texas, Seven Dust. The recently passed Reed Mullen was on here, episode 61.
That's right.
Also, Mike Dean, another original member of Corrosion Conformity, was on here at a separate time, which was really cool. And we've had on guys from Kiss, a long-ass list.
Oh, man.
Megadeth.
Clutch, Prong. We mentioned Crowbar earlier. We had them on. Superjoint. I Hate God. We've had all kinds of guys on.
Yeah. So just dig through that. Check it out. You can find everything at thethunderunderground.com. You can also listen to us on Google Music, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called now. TuneIn, Stitcher, Mixcloud. You can listen to everything on the website as well. You can find all our socials on our website. Our email is thethunderunderground@gmail.com. If you want to bitch about anything or talk about anything, hit us up there or in the comments on anything. We're also on YouTube at The Thunder Underground. Subscribe, because we've also got videos that are separate from the episodes where we interview or we review stuff and talk about whatever.
Eat cheese.
Yeah, there's a video where we eat cheese and review it. That's not a joke, so check that out. That's what happened once we finish that episode.
Pretty much.
But yeah, all that great stuff. Anytime you see one of our posts, like it, share it, comment on it, all that stuff greatly helps out. We appreciate it. And I guess that covers it for another week. All right, once again, thank you to MedFarm, DB Concerts, and Tommy Erickson. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.